a brand new start. Since I learned to fly with Diveheart.
My name is Greg Kiefer. I'm the owner and director at a company called Cozumel Dec, and we're working on a series right now called Turning Point, which is a documentary about people who have, well, about the point at which someone decided to do something that made a difference, kind of a chain reaction down the line. And we've been working on the show for about a year now, and we've got, we're under contract to do 20 shows. There's two stories in each show, and right now we're about at the halfway mark. So we've finished 10 shows. We filmed almost 20. We got involved with the Diveheart story. I think was that in October? September. And it's funny because when I go to do a story, I typically don't want to know that much about it before I get there, because I feel like discovering it with the audience is part of the thing. If I have a bunch of preconceived notions going into something, I feel like I might miss something if I might not explore a certain area. So I didn't really know that much about Diveheart. Coming out to Chicago, I was a little, I wasn't quite sure where we were going to dive in Chicago, because I know Chicago's not known for being the dive mecca of the world. But got there, met Jim, who is a very charismatic and dedicated. One thing that has become apparent from the series is people who have done these things are pretty passionate about what they do, and Jim certainly is one of the most passionate guys of the stories we've done. We went to where Diveheart is, below Bank. You know, it's kind of piecemeal together down there, as any good nonprofit should be. I think it's after that we met Greg. And Greg was hurt in a car wreck, T-boned, when he was backing out of his place just before he was ready to deploy. And to hear his story and to realize how far he'd come is pretty inspiring. And to realize, like, for him, especially because he's was head injured and he has some speech problems and he a lot of motor problems, and was confined to a wheelchair and is now walking and is convinced he's going to run a race, a 5K or something, which I don't doubt he will in a year or two. When I see some of these guys, even yesterday we're down here in Cozumel, and Ian and Daryl and John, who require some help to get around, and you got to know these guys are real independent guys. They were before they got hurt, and that's just got to kill you, to know that you're dependent on someone else to do those things for you. And how amazing to see them in the water. Yesterday, what really struck me yesterday was seeing Ian in the water, who is paraplegic with a pretty high up injury. So, and he's swimming around in the water, and other than that, you don't see his feet kicking. You would have no idea that he was immobile on land with his legs. And to see his attitude and to meet him, pretty inspiring. Daryl's another one. In some ways, Daryl's, of all the people I've seen, might be more inspiring than anyone. Just given his age, and given the fact that he was his age and in a wheelchair, and that he's worked his way out of the wheelchair to a walker, when I would say 95% of anybody in that circumstance wouldn't do that. And to see the smile on his face when he's back in the boat, and the sense of accomplishment, and to see him kind of maneuver around in the water, and see that sense of accomplishment and independence that gives him. Even to see John, who is really like a quadriplegic with some limited motion in his arms, to see him under the water and moving his arms, and it was pretty inspiring, really. And it's interesting, last night talking to Ian, after how he said he's in constant pain. He's just got a sharp pain right in the center of his back that he lives with 24 hours a day. and how he said, you know, in the water, that freed him of the pain. So we went to a school where they have a pool where the floor drops down, and just walking in there, a lot of cerebral palsy kids in there, and they were so friendly and so alive and so excited to A, have us there, but B, know they were going to get in the pool. And that really, to me, that really brought it home. I mean, you could not avoid getting a big smile on your face, because you saw their anticipation and how that makes them feel to get in the water. I noticed this when I walked through that door. There was a guy there in a wheelchair, severely deformed hands, and I could tell on his face that he wasn't sure I was going to shake his hand, because I'm sure, right? I mean, it's interesting because having one of the earlier Turning Point stories was about some kids with cerebral palsy, and they put this computer on them and realized that there were people inside, and that they were cognitive, and that they just couldn't communicate and stuff. But you realize from seeing them, I think we're all disturbed by seeing kids like that, because we see the form of human, but they don't behave the way we think they should. And so it's off-putting. I think it's disconcerting, because we all know we're one car wreck or one accident away from maybe being like that ourselves. And so I think they deal with a lot of rejection from their families and rejection from people. And it was interesting because I walked in there and I did. I hate to say this, but I hesitated. I was like, man, am I going to shake his hand or not? You know, I'm ashamed to even admit that, but I thought, you know, I'm all in. I'm going all in. So I grabbed his hand as enthusiastically as I could and shook his hand, and man, just the smile on his face. But it's like those kids' smiles. I mean, that's really that's kind of etched in my brain. All those kids, the smile. I mean, there was that one, I don't even know what her name is, that girl. She kind of leaned against the door. She was really beautiful, and she could not stop smiling that whole time. I mean, she had so much fun on the water and so much fun doing that, and you can tell they just, you know, they love that. So it's interesting to kind of see the breadth from the, you know, some of these military guys who were hurt to the kids, and everything in between, and how kind of the sense of, I think it's the sense of accomplishment, because, you know, most people who are healthy are not going to get in the water and go diving. Man, there's a serious sense of determination in all those people, that they refuse to let their injury get the best of them. And Diveheart really provides an opportunity for them to kind of step out of that world and show themselves that they can do something bigger than what they think, you know. So for these guys to get in the water and to do that is a huge boost to self-esteem and a huge boost to how they view themselves, because they view themselves like I think it was Daryl yesterday said, hey, when I'm in the water, I'm no different than anybody else. And it's true. It's a big equalizer down there. So we decided to come down here to Cozumel, and how great, you know, to see them loading those guys on the boat, I think really says a lot. It says a lot about how much, I mean, the guides on the boat, you can tell how much they enjoyed being involved in that. And it's kind of a big finish. I mean, it's just a beautiful place down here. It's kind of a payoff to all the hard work and everything, which I think really goes well with the story.
Diveheart, set my spirit free, making possibilities new.